In homes of the past, a thick, heavy curtain did more than block light. It was the frontline defense against cold that modern central heating often struggles to replicate efficiently. Before radiators and forced air systems became standard, families relied on the simple physics of insulation, and heavy night curtains were one of the most effective methods to keep warmth contained. These weren't decorative afterthoughts. They were carefully chosen, functional barriers that shaped how people experience winter in unheated or minimally heated homes. The primary advantage of heavy curtains was their ability to trap air close to the window, creating a thermal buffer. Windows have always been weak points in home insulation. Even today's double-glazed units can't match the effectiveness of a dense, tightly hung curtain pressed against a sill at night. Thick wool or lined velvet curtains prevented the cold from radiating into living spaces and held the already generated warmth in rooms long after the fire in the hearth had died down. Central heating, by contrast, circulates warm air, but this air rises and escapes through poorly insulated ceilings and drafts. Curtains kept warmth exactly where it was required, around beds, seating areas, and frequently occupied rooms. Families didn't rely solely on external heating. The combination of heavy curtains and layered bedding created microclimates within rooms. A single bedroom, shut off from cold drafts with floor-to-ceiling curtains, could maintain a temperature significantly higher than the house average. Those sleeping under thick blankets and feather beds were essentially in a warm cocoon, amplified by the barrier of curtains trapping heat around the room. Modern central heating cannot replicate this targeted effect. Forced air systems warm the entire home evenly, but they also waste energy and leave surfaces and corners cold. Applying this historical method today is straightforward. Use thick, insulated curtains in sleeping areas. Pull them tight at night and pair with layered bedding to maximize warmth efficiently without raising the thermostat. Heavy curtains weren't just hung at random. In many historical homes, people hung them inside window recesses, tucked behind radiators or along wall edges, and sometimes extended them past the floor to prevent drafts. In kitchens and common areas, they could be drawn during the evening to conserve the day's retained heat from cooking fires or stoves. The principle is simple. Create a controlled environment where heat stays trapped. In a modern context, applying the same principle can reduce reliance on central heating, especially in older homes with single-glass windows. Adding a curtain rod closer to the ceiling and ensuring the fabric reaches the floor can create a near-perfect barrier against cold infiltration. Every window is a radiator in miniature. Glass, especially the single-pane sort that was so common in homes before the middle of the 20th century, loses heat at a rather alarming rate. Heavy curtains act as both a reflective and absorbent layer. Wool or velvet, for example, will absorb heat radiating from the room, while also reflecting some of it back toward the interior. In practice, this meant that rooms stayed warmer for longer, without the need for continuous heating. These days, central heating systems are always working to make up for energy lost through windows, which honestly drives up your fuel or electricity use. Installing historically inspired heavy curtains can reduce heat loss dramatically, and it's both historically accurate and, well, quite cost-effective. Drafts are insidious. They seep around window frames, through cracks, and along poorly sealed doors. Heavy curtains, especially those that reach the floor and extend past the edges of the window frame, stop cold air from entering directly into the living space. Even modern double glazing can't completely eliminate drafts in older homes, which is why these historical methods, like curtains, are still superior when it comes to targeted warmth control. In practical terms, today's homeowners and preppers can layer curtains or add thermal backing to their existing drapes, creating an airtight effect that central heating alone just can't achieve. Unlike furnaces and radiators, heavy curtains required no electricity, fuel, or maintenance. Once hung, they worked consistently year after year. They also allowed households to control warmth on a room-by-room basis. Families could shut off rooms entirely and focus warmth where it was most needed, conserving energy and maintaining comfort. Modern systems often lack this flexibility. Zoned heating is possible, but rarely matches the simplicity of closing a curtain and retaining all available heat. For a prepper, this means heavy curtains can act as a low-tech, fail-proof backup in situations where power or fuel may be limited. You don't need to live in a 19th century home to benefit from this approach. Begin with your bedrooms. Install heavy curtains, preferably wool or velvet, with thermal lining. Ensure the curtains cover the entire window frame and extend slightly past the floor. Draw them tight every evening and pair with layered bedding. In living spaces, use the same principle. Curtains drawn after sunset can conserve daytime warmth. In workshops, sheds, or outbuildings that aren't connected to central heating, this method can make the difference between discomfort and a usable space in winter. Even on a budget, thrift stores or antique shops often carry heavy fabrics that can be adapted into functional curtains, bringing the historical approach into your modern life. Ultimately, heavy night curtains created a controllable environment in each room, preserving heat precisely where it was needed. Central heating spreads warmth, but it often does so unevenly and at a higher energy cost. Heavy curtains were a sustainable, historically tested solution that offered reliability, flexibility, and targeted warmth. For history enthusiasts and survivalists alike, understanding and applying this knowledge is more than an academic exercise. It's a practical skill with real-world benefits. If you found this insight valuable, don't forget to subscribe to Warfield Prepper Chronicles for more in-depth historical survival strategies. Share this with fellow enthusiasts who want to reclaim practical skills from the past and experience warmth the old-fashioned way. Staying informed and prepared begins with learning from history.